Number 8. Pegasus Wreck. On October 8, 1970, the pilots flying the Pegasus, a C-0121 Lockheed Constellation plane, knew a storm was coming their way. But they had no choice but to try and navigate their way through it, as they were running out of fuel and needed to reach their destination. There were 80 people on board, and they were all heading to Antarctica for a research mission. Snow and ice whipped through the air, causing the pilots to lose all visibility. The wind caused the aircraft to be trashed around, beating the plane so hard, bits and pieces started to rip off. The plane was going down. The Pegasus crashed into the snow and skidded along the ice before coming to a halt. Luckily, everyone on board survived, and they were able to carry on with their research. Today, anyone near the McMurdo station can take a trip to the wreck site, as the Pegasus is still there, gently resting beneath a thick blanket of ice and snow. The crash inspired researchers to rename the ice runway and airfield after the wrecked plane. However, in December of 2014, Pegasus Field closed due to an excess of summer melt. Number 7. Shackletons' lost photos. In 2013, conservationists restoring exploration huts in Antarctica discovered a box of 22 old photographs frozen in a block of ice. The photos depicted events from one of the most famous and ill-fated polar expeditions ever, the Ross Sea Party, led by explorer Ernest Shackleton. Despite being frozen for 100 years, the team was able to restore the pictures, offering a glimpse into the past of the tragic event that took place. A century ago, Ernest Shackleton and his team embarked on the first mission ever to cross the frozen continent from 1915 to 1917. It was called the Ross Sea Party, but the mission proved to be far more challenging than the group expected it to be. Shackleton's ship, the Endurance, definitely did not endure. They sailed right into hard ice, causing the ship to slow down significantly. Over the course of 9 months, the ship eventually became totally stuck. Shackleton ordered his crew to abandon the ship and walk along the ice. After just 3 days on the ice, the crew watched as the ship sank into the icy depths below, prompting them to head towards open water in hopes of being rescued. But rescue never came. The team was hit by a blizzard and they were quickly running out of food and supplies. They made the choice to eat 69 of the dogs they had with them. Many of the crew members died. Fast forward to April 1916, the remaining team managed to reach Elephant Island, where they took 3 lifeboats back to the shores of South Georgia. Shackleton, however, was not through with expeditions. In late 1921, he set off on another mission to the South Pole. His goal was to circumnavigate the Antarctic, but on January 5, 1922, Shackleton had a heart attack on his ship and died. The photos found by the conservationists showcase what things were like for those in the Ross Sea Party. The fascinating yet eerie photos document the scene and the faces of the team on their daring journey. Number 6. Bone Circle. In 2020, the mysterious and chilling discovery of a series of Paleolithic structures dating back 20,000 years left scientists and archaeologists scratching their heads. These aren't normal structures, they're bone circles made from mammoths. The circular structures appear to be dwellings, and it's giving researchers clues as to how ancient communities survived Europe's last ice age. Researchers traveled to an area 311 miles from Moscow, in the freezing tundra of Ukraine and the West Russian plain to study this. Approximately 70 of these structures are known to exist in the region. One mighty example measures 30 by 30 feet and contains no less than 64 mammoth skulls as well as 51 jawbones. Bones from reindeer and foxes were found as well, but mostly this society relied on mammoths, so there must have been a bunch of them. The bones were likely sourced from animal graveyards. Over time, the bone circle was hidden by sediment and is now a foot below current surface level. Archaeologists from the University of Exeter were excited to also discover the remains of charred wood and other soft, non-woody plants within the circular structure. This shows that those that lived here were burning wood as well as bones for fuel. This is the first evidence of our ancestors doing this. Communities who lived there learned where to forage for edible plants during the Ice Age. The plants could have also been used for medicines, poisons, clothing, and more. Over 50 small charred seeds were found, the remains of plants growing locally or possibly food remains from meals. Once the winters grew longer and colder, most communities left the region, probably due to the lack of prey to hunt and plant resources they depended upon for survival. Eventually, the bone circles were abandoned as the climate continued to get more inhospitable. It was busy here by the sounds of it before they abandoned the area. The presence of a spring leads some to believe that this water source is what drew both man and beast here. Number 5. Warning in a bottle. While we think of the climate change debate as a relatively recent thing, it has actually been talked about for years. A strange example of this involved a bottle, which was found on Wardhunt Island in the Canadian Arctic in 2013 by experts exploring the remote location. The bottle was uncovered from beneath some rocks. Inside the bottle was a message written by one Paul T. Walker, a geologist who lived in the 1950s. Written in the message were measurements relating to the distance between the rocks and a glacier. At the time, this was reportedly 4 feet. So far, so weird. But this wasn't just some random eccentric guy having fun out in the snow. You see, Walker was also asking for the measurements to be retaken by the person who found the message. 2 experts obliged and saw that the distance had grown significantly over the decades. It had gone from 4 feet to over 300 feet. This is proof that temperatures had risen in that area and disrupted the environment. This is climate change in action. However, there's a particularly sad dimension to the story, aside from the world-changing aspect. Walker requested that whoever found his message let him know the new measurements. Unfortunately, this was impossible to do because he died just months after leaving the site. Still, he laid the groundwork for people to look further into the issue, and his efforts showed that people cared about climate change way earlier than we may have thought. Have you ever found a message in a bottle? What did it say? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit subscribe. Number 4. Mysterious ice swirls. In February of 2021, mysterious swirls found atop a frozen creek in Alabama have left meteorologists scratching their heads. Social media did what it does best and launched all kinds of strange conspiracy theories, mostly about extraterrestrials and the formations being comparable to alien-created crop circles. The hypnotic spirals spread across Anderson Creek, a 600-foot wide tributary of the Tennessee River in North Alabama. A man named Wynell Kirkham from Rogersville, 45 miles, shared photos of the circles on Facebook with only a one-word comment: "Wow." It really is quite the sight to see, though experts aren't sold on the whole alien invasion thing. Way 31 chief meteorologist Kate McKenna said that she believes that near the shoreline, the water is more shallow, causing it to freeze more easily and to cool down quickly. Then the wind blows that thin sheet of ice out into the water and out into the middle of the creek. Then the water near the shoreline again starts to refreeze, and the wind blowing that ice out into the lake causes each layer and each ring to form, kind of like rings in a tree trunk. James Spann, a meteorologist of ABC 3340, gave a slightly different explanation, saying that the pattern occurs when moving water forces the forming ice to slowly rotate, and shear is involved. On one side of the creek you have water that's moving faster than on the other side, causing the ice to make the swirling formations. Again, these are only theories and other explanations may exist. The truth is out there. Now where have we heard that expression before? Number 3. Ice shelf creatures. The Filchner-Ronne ice shelf floating on top of the sea in the Antarctic is the planet's second largest ice shelf, measuring over 166,000 square miles. The biggest is the Ross ice shelf. The epic scale of these things is truly massive, and there's actually still quite a lot we don't know about them. Before 2021, researchers didn't believe there could be any life living beneath the ice here, as the conditions are some of the harshest on the planet. That's why they were shocked to discover that after drilling some 4,045 feet down into the thick ice, there was not only life, but a whole heap of different life forms. And what's even more surprising is the fact that these mysterious life forms were found by chance. People weren't even looking for them. In fact, they started drilling into the ice initially to search for sediment that they wanted to use in order to study the Mammoth Ice Shelf's development. To begin with, the sediment team had to penetrate mile upon mile of ice just to take samples. How do they do that? By heating a pipe and pushing it down. How do you heat it? With hot water. A lot of hot water. 4,400 gallons to be precise. Enough to cut through 20 tons of ice. Then they sent a camera down there for a look-see. The camera struck a rock which probably gave the team a bit of a shock. However, they realized that on the rock was a microbial mat, in other words, a layer of bacteria. So it seems life does find a way, even in an inhospitable and closed-off environment such as this. Typically, creatures of the deep would feed on something called marine snow. Certainly an appropriate term to use in that situation, but of course it's not actual snow, more the disintegrating remains of life forms that pass away and drift to the seafloor. How does that happen with an enormous ice sheet over the top of you? Scientists are still trying to figure that out. There's speculation over this discovery. It could be an exciting new chapter of marine study, or it's simply a random rock that found itself way out of its comfort zone. This discovery is literally the tip of the iceberg. Well, ice shelf. Number 2. Frozen Volcano. We are aware volcanoes are extremely hot, and that's putting it lightly. But did you know a volcano can also produce ice, if the conditions are right? Located in the Sunda Strait between the Indonesian islands of Sumatra and Java is a volcano known as Anak Krakatau. It first started erupting on December 22, 2018. The eruption generated not only lava and hot ash, but also an estimated 10 million tons of ice. The bizarre discovery was made by an international research team that was studying satellite images of the eruption plume. A plume is a column of blazing volcanic ash and gas emitted into the atmosphere when a volcano starts doing what volcanoes do. A key element of the process that experts looked at was volcanic lightning. Yep, volcanoes also produce lightning. Who knew? This involves static electricity produced as all those volcanic ingredients come together in a colossal eruption. Tens of thousands of electrical discharges were studied by the team, which led them to believe that ice was part of the deal. As you know, water and electricity is not a good mix, so the ice particles were noticeable, owing to how they reacted against the static. Based on the number of electric charges, researchers estimate that during the eruption of Anak Krakatau, at least 10 million tons of ice formed. Number 1. Sasha the Woolly Rhino. How do you bring a rhino that's thousands of years old back to life? Through a combination of embalming and taxidermy, of course. That's what happened to Sasha, a baby rhino who perished at just 7 months old. The body was discovered in Russia's Sakha Republic in 2014. It isn't known what sex Sasha is, hence the gender-neutral name. What experts do know is that Sasha is 35,000 to 50,000 years old and may have died from drowning. The image of a Paleolithic rhino is known about from ancient paintings, but this is the first time the real thing can be studied to see if the depictions are accurate. As it turns out, the rhino is bigger and prettier than first thought. Yes, we did say prettier. You see, Sasha has been blessed with strawberry blonde curls. Certainly not what you'd expect to see from this type of animal. Sasha was first believed to be gray, at least that's how most mammoths looked when dug out from the frost. Further information was obtained by studying the creature's bones. It suggests the rhino had a plant-based diet, though ultimately there's no way of really knowing. The ice has preserved the body to a surprising degree, with parts of the horn still visible, but scientists were out of luck when it came to stomach contents. We've seen all kinds of strange things that have been found frozen in ice on the list, but Sasha, the woolly baby rhino, is easily the most interesting. Sure, a plane or a sea sponge or bones are pretty cool, but this is the closest we've got to seeing something that actually lived back in the day. It's been arguably the world's most bizarre taxidermy project, but the work appears to be worthwhile. Thanks for watching. Are there any other strange things frozen in ice you think we left out? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like these. See you next time. Bye!